In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Google's new Antigravity software to code anything you can think of. It doesn't matter whether you're a complete beginner or an expert coder, this software is game-changing for anybody who is interested in vibe coding. So let's get into it. First thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and download Google Antigravity from their website. They have different models available for Mac OS, Windows, and I believe Linux as well. And once you download it, it should take you to this page here once it's fully on your computer, which is going to be just a little setup wizard here. We're basically just going to say what we want to do. They do have this little helpful setup flow here. If you're familiar with Cursor or you already have Cursor instances, you can import those from here. We're just going to start fresh just to show you this video. There's also different themes that you can choose. I'm going to go ahead and choose the dark theme just because it's easier on the eyes. And then we have basically how we want to use their anti-gravity agent, which is a really big selling point of Google Antigravity. And we'll get into how to use that and kind of what that's all about in just a moment here. But we'll just do review-driven development just because that's kind of the recommended mode that they, basically give to us. We don't really need to worry too hard about this setting. And then we configure our editor. If you really want to get into stuff, you could set up your keyboard differently. You can configure any extensions that you might have. And then there's also the ability to contact your command line, which is going to be important. So that way you can actually talk to your terminal. Then you just need to sign into your Google account. And then once you sign into your Google account, you'll just agree to their terms of use and hit that next button. As you can see, Antigravity will now prompt with OSA script for administrator privileges to install the shell command. We'll just say okay to that because that is okay. Then we just got to enter in our administrator password, which shouldn't take too long. And then it will go ahead and do what it needs to do in the background. But officially, this is what Antigravity looks like, or this is at least what it should look like on your page. One of the cool things too is that Gemini 3 was just released, so there's been a ton of improvements in terms of code quality and just different coding outcomes that you can do with this tool. We'll show you how to use that to the best of its ability in just a second here, but let me go through really quick kind of how to set up this main page here and make sure that everything looks good. So the first thing you're going to see is on the left side, you're going to have this little kind of folder directory. If you've never worked in a development environment before, if you've never coded anything, especially with these IDEs, specifically this is where you're going to be spending most of your time organizing your project. And by organizing, I mean you're basically just going to create a folder that essentially you'll use to keep track of everything inside of your project. One of the things I recommend to actually get started with developing is actually making that new folder. So you'll basically just go inside of here, hit new folder, go ahead and name this whatever. Remember not to use spaces, stick with underscores or dashes just because of the file naming structure and the way that Antigravity and most of these IDE source files is typically going to be a lot easier for them to look through when that has that structure. So we'll just name this anything. We can just name this example app or something like that. And then I'll hit the create button. Then we'll hit open, which will open that project folder. And then what we're going to do is we're going to allow this. And then do you trust the authors of the file, this folder? Yes, we trust all of them. So that's all good because we are the authors of that folder. Okay. So once you do that, now you are inside of your project folder. This is where we can actually start building some stuff and kind of get into the nitty gritty. But just to go over the kind of setup here, on the left side, you'll see this little tab called Explore. This is the folder that we just created. It's called Example Application. There's nothing in it because we just made it. There's going to be a lot of stuff in it very, very soon that you'll see in just a moment here, but that's where you can see all the different files and things that you might have uploaded inside of that folder. Quick little note on this left sidebar here, we have a code search option. If we want to search through our code for a specific thing we're looking for, we have source control to control what the source from that code is, where it's happening from. Then we have the run and debug option. If we already have code written, we could run the code and, as it says, debug it, as well as Remote Explorer and extensions. These are not really important right now if you're a complete beginner. We're just going to focus on the main ways to use this. Now, let's head over to the right side here where we have the agent tab. This is where we actually are going to do our developing. I'm going to go ahead and shrink this a little bit just so it's easier to see. So what we're going to do is we need to pick what's called a tech stack. If you've never coded before, this is basically what we are building our application, landing page, website, whatever it is we're building. This is the type of code dependencies that we're going to be using. So in this case, I could say I want to use something like, let's say TypeScript, for example, or I could use like Tailwind or React or something like that. But I'll just say, build a TypeScript and React website that helps people lose weight or something like that. Doesn't have to be too complicated. Also make sure to kind of spell some of these things right. Autocorrect has not been added quite yet, so you might not see if you're not spelling things right, but at the end of the day, Gemini 3 is a very, very competent model, and it'll be able to figure out kind of what you're trying to say. I'm going to hit the enter button on this though, and what it's going to do is it's going to start generating our code. It's basically going to think about things through a second, think about how it wants to kind of build this out. And then what it's going to do is it's going to go into our folder and it's going to start building those dependencies, or basically building out those specific, or not building the dependencies, rather downloading the dependencies to use that code. Also, keep in mind, we have notifications that you can turn on to on the right side here. Sometimes it's not like ChatGPT where you just type in one thing and it starts spitting stuff back at you. Sometimes you're going to need to go in and confirm or make changes depending on what you're doing inside of the code. So in this instance, it's basically saying that it wrote an implementation plan, which is actually pretty cool. I haven't really worked with any other IDEs that write implementation plans completely for you when you're coding. That's a pretty cool feature. I'm going to go ahead and tell it to proceed because I'm sure the implementation plan is great. I could go in and make changes if I wanted to, but this is basically what it's pulled up in the center here, and that is kind of how this is going to go. Depending on what you're looking at inside of the folder, you'll see basically these different tabs, kind of like you would on Google Chrome or any other internet browser. But essentially, you'll see these kind of folders and these files that you can open and close just like you would any other tab software. All right, so it's initializing the project here. Just to see really quick here, it looks like it's going to start scaffolding, which is basically kind of giving us the skeleton of what this landing page or website is going to look like. I'm going to go ahead and hit accept there, and then it's going to start running some basic code here and start going through that. Now, this might take a little bit here, so what I'm going to do in the meantime is show you a little bit around this IDE and kind of show you a little bit more about how it works. So in the very top right here, because I haven't covered that yet, I'm just trying to make sure that we're hitting all the accepts and everything here so that way it keeps going. I believe if I use the agent mode, there's a potential way to actually just automatically accept everything that it's doing. Also, I could wait till the very end of this and just hit accept all. It'll eventually kind of output all this anyways. But anyways, getting off that little side tangent, at the top right here, you see this. Oh, we got to allow that. At the top right here, we see Open Agent Manager. This is interesting because when I click on this, this is going to open what's called your agent inbox or your agent manager inbox. And inside of here, one of the big reasons that people say Google Antigravity is so game changing is the fact that you can use multiple agents at any given moment to essentially work on the same project. What is a good example of this? Well, let's say right here in this workspace that you can see right here, our example application, we have the building of a weight loss app. Let's say that we want to do something else at the same time. We don't want to just have to go step by step, one by one, build the weight loss app and then build the front end, then build the back end, then build, we don't have to do all this one by one. We can do this simultaneously, and we can do that by hitting this little plus button right here, which will go ahead and add a new agent. Once we add that new agent, we can start a new conversation and essentially have this agent continue to do work for us in another way and another type of task that we want done. And we can keep doing that, not forever, but you could have at least 3 to 6 different agents running at any given moment. So I could say something like, create a login page for this website or something like that. Hit the enter button. And now we have 2 agents, as you can see, are running at the same exact time. Let's hit the accept button on here so that way this keeps developing. But inside of here, this is analyzing and creating a login page for this website simultaneously while the actual website is being built itself, which is pretty dang cool. Okay, it looks like it might have been doing everything correctly here. So what it's going to do is it's going to start running the terminal, which is going to let us see, or not a terminal, rather, it's going to start local hosting so we can see what this looks like once it's finished developed. Let's see here. Just want to double check and make sure everything is still running how it should be. But just to kind of get out of this agent inbox here, that's kind of what the agent inbox manager is all about. It's very similar to if you've ever used something like Code, for example, where you can have multiple agents running at the same time and simultaneously doing things. That way you're much more efficient and a whole lot more productive. Also, this is more than likely going to be the future of coding. This is by far one of the most efficient ways to get stuff done is when it comes to vibe coding. And not even just vibe coding, but this is probably the future of how we interface with artificial intelligence. We'll have multiple different agents that we're continuously working with, continuously talking to, and we're able to have these like really interesting and really productive and efficient conversations with them. Okay, so this one has the implementation plan going, and all these agents are working at a good pace. Okay, so let's head back to the editor here. And the easiest way to do that is by hitting Open Editor, which will take us back into the editing page. And as you can see on this left side, this was our application folder, which I'll minimize to show you. Look at all of these new folders that we just generated. Pretty impressive indeed. And this is like our tech stack. This is what we got to worry about in terms of how this application is built, how this website's built. It's using TypeScript, it's using React, and it's giving us all those SRC files that we need. So that way, we have that foundation basically for this entire plan, which is pretty cool. Also, real quick, if you guys are interested in getting your first AI automation client or making money with artificial intelligence, the best place to learn how to do that is going to be the AI department school community, which you can join by using that first link down in the description completely for free. We show you how to do everything from learning how to make AI automations, how to build a business with AI, and we're adding new modules and course material on a daily basis. Make sure to join that school community before we raise the price. It won't be free forever. Let's see if there's anything else that we need to do. It's still generating and everything. So we're still waiting for that local host option where we can actually see the visual of what we're trying to build here. I think because I started another agent task, it's going to take a little bit longer to get there. But once this is done, I'll be able to show you guys the visual of this website and show you what it was able to generate for us. But before we do that, and in the meantime, while it works, one of the really other big features I want to show you right here is this little button right here, which says Open Browser Preview. If I go ahead and click on that, what it's going to do is open that browser preview of this website that it built. And this is another way to do kind of the local host thing. I currently have an extension inside of here where basically Antigravity has its own extension where you can install this one, add it to your Chrome browser, and then once it's on your Chrome browser, you need to I might need to sign in here. I think I had it installed. Sometimes it uninstalls itself. This is also a really random weird account. I don't really remember why that's on there. I think that's not the right window. This should be the right window. Here we go. But basically this is called Antigravity Browser Control. And essentially this just lets the agent kind of control your browser, which don't get freaked out. I know that sounds crazy. But essentially what it does is that it helps you actually look at overlays and shows progress of what's being built. So that way, if you see something that doesn't look right, you don't have to wait every time for the AI to run a full execution. You get back the result and go, this doesn't look good. You can see it in real time. You can see what's happening, and then you can instantly make a change or stop it from executing and then make those changes that you might need. This is still really buggy though. So this is definitely going to need some work before it's ready for like full release, but this is also a very, very helpful tool that you can use in this whole process. Okay, so looks like it's running still. A couple more executions here, a couple more. Let's just trying to read through some of this to make sure this is using what it should be using. But essentially, it's going to keep going through here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and then once it's done, I'll come back and I'll show you guys the actual visual that you can see with this. All right, it looks like our local host is good to go. Now, if you have never tried to preview something before, I want to give you, and it very nicely gives us a little guide on how to go about previewing the actual visual that we've just generated here. But what it's going to do is we have to run the npm run dev inside of our terminal, and then it will be located at this local host. Now, if you're anything like me, you just want it to just do that for you. So I will tell it to run the local host so I can see it. And we'll Antigravity to go ahead and do that for us so we don't even have to pull up the terminal and actually input that specific command line and do all this extra crap that we just, why not? Let's just let it do this. All right, so it's basically running that. It's doing everything we need it to do. There we go, run. And then it should be running. All right, there we go. We got our local host here. So what I'm going to do, I should be able to just click on that and open it, but it might be verifying still. Okay, set up, and then boom. Oh, I still got, you know what? All right, hang on. I gotta remove this, I think, real quick. All right, so really quickly here, I wanted to come back and show you guys that I was actually in the wrong directory, or the wrong agent in this sense. I was in the login page agent instead of the homepage agent, which I can actually pull up and show you. This is what the login page ended up looking like. Not too bad, but not the best work. Looks like it's refreshing right now because I just asked it to start running the homepage. Which is what it's doing, as you can see right here. Now, one of the things that you'll notice Antigravity start doing when you start running these home pages, or not home pages, but just running anything, is that you'll get this blue box right here. And essentially what this blue box is going to do once it's fully loaded, the preview, is that it's going to start taking a bunch of screenshots of that page. And one of the benefits of this is that this is going to let you debug in a much quicker and a much more efficient way. Because essentially it's just going to take a bunch of screenshots of that page that it generated. It'll realize what it's done incorrectly, and then it can make those changes based on what it sees, which is pretty efficient and pretty cool, in my opinion. This is something that I've never had experience with outside of any other dev environment, maybe except like Replit, for example. But even that specific development environment isn't really as clean and as easy to use as this one, which is another big advantage, in my opinion, of Antigravity, is how easy and kind of nice and fluid it seems that it is. I will say it is still a little buggy, but those bugs I'm sure will be worked out as they continue to work on it and continue to make changes to it and obviously improve it. All right, but in the meantime, once this preview officially loads, I'll come back and show you. All right, so it just pulled up this Chrome browser right here, and I'll actually switch back so I can show you what it did. So it's working through those logs right now, taking screenshots of the screen, and essentially recording this to make sure that if there are any bugs or if there's any kind of formatting issues, that it can fix those without me really having to tell it. And I'll kind of go back here and show you. This might take just a couple seconds here, but usually it's pretty quick. Again, this is still a little bit of a buggy piece of software. It's not perfect, but I think that there is a ton of potential with this being like one of the probably the up and coming most popular independent development environments, or internal development environments that I have ever seen. I think in general, this just has the markings of something that has a lot of potential. But it just, unfortunately, it was just released, so it's going to take a little bit of time sometimes for everything to get there. All right, so we're getting the view here. Should be up in just a moment. We're trying to get through all of that. So it looks like it's not rendering right now due to a router error is what it's saying right now. So it's going to remove a redundant router that it has. So it looks like it maybe made a little error in the initial coding, but it's making that realization and fixing that by doing this little process right here. Okay, so first things first, you're probably thinking this UI looks like garbage, absolute garbage. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix that really quick. And I'm going to show you how to do that for yourself. Basically, take a little screenshot of this just to show it. It's not currently doing any devs right now, but well, it's still generating, I guess, actually. So it's still working through this. So there could potentially be some updates that it makes itself. But this is what the UI looks like. Okay, it looks like it's finished finally. Or no, is it still going? All right, it still might be going. Sometimes it's hard to tell with this. You can't tell when it's like ready. Retry verification with screenshot. But we at least are getting a preview, so that's good. Funnily enough, we were actually getting some like animations that it actually did here, even though this looks horrible. But we can fix that relatively easily once you make it realize kind of the errors that it's made. All right, it's going to go through this section. I'll come right back once again. Don't want to like sit here and just yap your guys' ears off. Oh, looks like I might have finished. Okay, we'll accept all. Okay, so there we go. So this does not look good. So what we're going to do is with that screenshot, we're going to click this plus button down here, go to images, and then inside of images on my desktop, I'm going to take that screenshot I took of the UI, which does not look good. I'm going to hit the enter button, and I'm going to say, this looks horrible. Please fix this so the format and structure is correct and looks better. And hit the enter button. I have that screenshot that I've fed it to, so it knows what I'm talking about. The nice part is that at least it's not buggy. Like that's the other kind of big thing about this, is that technically this all works. Dashboard coming soon. It even gives you a little coming soon thing. I wonder if the login is still there. I can't really seem to find the button because I don't think it ended up rendering. So what we'll do is we'll head back here And okay, analyze global styles, now inspecting specific contents. It's going to go through and it's going to reorganize and restructure this whole thing. So that way we actually can just get this fixed. So it's actually usable. So it looks like an actual website you'd actually want to visit. Okay, drafted a plan, cool. So I made an implementation plan. That's one of the big benefits about anti-gravity is that it doesn't just move forward willy-nilly. It doesn't just decide, okay, here's a really basic sentence that this person gave me. I'm just going to go for it. It takes time to write out an implementation plan. So that way there's much more sense in the way that it codes. And then eventually it outputs basically a lot higher quality code at the end of the day, which is pretty cool. Also, this is the implementation plan, if you're wondering what it looks like. And it basically wrote out all the important things that needs to be changed, things that need to be modified. And it even has an important, I will be switching the font family, just kind of gives documentation, all of that, which is kind of cool too. So if you ever want to go back and see like, well, what was changed from this version to this version, you can literally just go to the implementation plan and see what was changed right in there. So I'm not sure if this, okay, ooh, this is already starting to look way better. Oh my God, this is like night and day. Okay, good news. All right, accept all. So we're just going to keep this running. We're going to keep it editing. And once it finishes editing, this is going to look like 10 billion times better. It already does look way better. Nice little animations on there too. Love it. But like I said, it takes some time with this. Sometimes you gotta give it a little bit of space and let it kind of work its magic before you can actually start to get some better results. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 tries to really get it to put out what you're expecting or what you want from it. All right, we're gonna accept all these changes here. I'm gonna hit accept all again. It's gonna keep generating here. Might have a last little finishing thing here. Verify to sign overall. And then it's going to take screenshots of this to make sure this all looks correct and do the debugging process that it does again. This is really cool. I've never seen this done before. And it's doing this inside of my Google Chrome tab. I don't even have to press a button for it to just pull this up for me, which is really, really cool. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this one where it's not taking screenshots, and just to show you that this all works. We have to actually code the dashboard, but at least it gives it coming soon, and it doesn't just give you nothing. We also get these little animations too. But that is pretty cool, guys. That's pretty much it, if I'm being fully honest. I could sit here all day and develop this whole thing and get it ready to go, but that'll probably be a future video where I'll like build something like this from scratch. If you guys are interested in more AI tools like this or learning more about AI coding, AI just advancements in general, hit that subscribe button, make sure hit that like button, and of course comment down below if you guys have questions or if you guys have used this before and you have any luck with using it. I'd love to hear your story, love to hear your thoughts, and just let me know how that all goes. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.